Well, in terms of a timescale for recovery, I think we really need to think about a short and a long term. It's really clear that the impact of the pandemic won't be resolved within a year. And of course, we should also be looking to tackle some of the long term issues that have been exacerbated by COVID-19. So I think the point is that we need a multifaceted approach, but we really need to be thinking about being in this for the long term. I think the purpose of recovery education has again got to be multifaceted. There's supporting young people to fill the literal gaps that may have opened up. It could be in their reading progress, could be in particular areas of conceptual knowledge or chunks of the curriculum, given lack of access for some pupils over the period of the pandemic. And then, of course, there are other issues that every teacher is aware of as well. Issues about well-being, in mental health in some cases, and so forth as well. Any recovery plan needs to focus on children's well-being and not just academic outcomes. Some of that might involve creating opportunities for kids to interact, something that we know has been greatly missed by many children during the last year. And others might involve much more intensive interventions, for example, making counselling available to young people that need it. One of the challenges for wellbeing and social and emotional learning is that it can include a wide range of different needs. And of course, schools will be best placed to understand the circumstances of their individual pupils and what level of response is required. So I think explicitly considering social and emotional learning strategies and how to embed them into the school day is good in and of itself, and also good in relation to supporting learning and recovery. And at the EEF, we talk about a threefold approach, tiering, if you like, in regard to a recovery approach. First of all, focusing on teaching quality, which we know makes the biggest difference to pupil progress, and that's particularly the case for kids from disadvantaged backgrounds. So supporting teachers through CPD, other supportive ways. Obviously, we have the early careers framework and other methods to support particularly early career teachers, but to support them and ensure that they're not burnt out by the challenges of the pandemic is a really important kind of first step. Then we have issues around particular evidence-led interventions and programs that may be particularly effective. For example, this might be around literacy and numeracy and other curriculum areas and so forth. And then we have the sort of whole school approaches that ensure that kids are ready to learn. And that includes social and emotional learning programs. It might include behavioral programs and so forth. But I think most teachers would agree that some of those approaches are particularly important at the present time. The important thing is to empower schools with the funding and facilities and available activities so that they can make decisions on how to most appropriately support the well-being of the children that they know about. I think agency for teachers is crucial for a range of reasons. As I've said, teachers will be best placed to diagnose and understand the needs of their pupils. That might be around whether it's crucial to provide additional numeracy support rather than literacy, say, or it might be about whether the most important thing is the well-being of young people. But they're the ones that have the most important interactions and therefore really inflecting any recovery agenda within a school. How you implement any approach is also as important as what that approach is. So making sure that teachers are comfortable with the response and can deliver it effectively will likely determine the impact and the outcome of those approaches. Evidence can be a hugely important tool to support powerful teaching and learning. not just in finding new initiatives, but also identifying unnecessary interventions that aren't having additional impact. And I think that this has never been more important than in the pandemic, because of course the impetus for politicians, journalists and so forth to jump on catchy ideas that sound plausible and appealing in regard to addressing the pandemic. It's very, very tempting, of course. But actually, we can use the evidence to guide prioritization. And I think that that's as important about not doing new things as it is about knowing which are the best things to prioritize. So I think that already the evidence has been very useful as a sort of defending schools, school leaders and teachers from perhaps appealing sounding ideas, but ideas that don't have evidence behind them. You know, I can use the example of getting kids to repeat the year as one example there. Ultimately, as I've said, making time for high quality interactions between teachers and pupils and between children and their peers are the most impactful points and will be even more important than ever this year. So one sort of takeaway message is that anything that isn't positively contributing to those interactions should be deprioritized. And in order to do that, teachers need to look after their own well-being. And so thinking about that work-life balance, communicating that with your managers and so forth, I think is particularly important at the present time and in the, during and in the aftermath of the pandemic. I think that teachers should be incredibly proud of everything that they've achieved in the last year. So I would resist us recommending lots of new things in addition and risking overload. We, of course, at the EEF have lots of staff that are teachers, and we know how much teachers have had to balance in the last year and are just enormously grateful and appreciative of everything that teachers have achieved.